Hello everyone. It's James again. And today I want to talk about the perverse and strange nature of the abusive narcissist. And this nature they put upon their children. And why they do such a thing. Well. And an example of this is the Turpin family story that as of late has been talked about. And for those of you that aren't aware, the Turpin couple were arrested and charged for torturing and holding their 13 children captive in their home, chained to beds. And the ages of their children ranged from 2 to 29. What's interesting is the 17-year-old daughter that grabbed a cell phone and escaped. The police thought was 10. Due to her malnourished state. Now a couple of things I mentioned when I first talked about this family is their use of taking happy family photos to where everyone appears. And that's the key word. Appears to be happy. Also with perfect vacation photos and the like. And the reason why narcissists do this is like what I've mentioned before about our situations that we grew up in. Is so if you the scapegoat starts to talk, they don't want anyone to believe you. How dare you say such a thing? Your parents are good people. They take you here and there. And everywhere. And this is the thanks you show them. Because by having this picture perfect family, it can make the child that is truly sane be made to look insane. So narcissistic families do this as a smoke screen and cover. No matter they be rich or poor. If the family is poor, they will buy a present for their child that's out of their means. And make sure they take a picture of the child holding up his or her new gift. And this is used as evidence they are a caring parent that gives to their child even when it's financially hard for them to do. Now that being said, in the same breath, these types of parents can be the cheapest parents around. In my situation, my mother made sure when my father was alive, and they were fighting for custody, to max out her credit cards buying myself and my brother toys we honestly didn't need, to try to win us over to her side, and to get her peers to think she was a good mother. That being said, I'm fully convinced many of those toys came from my father and my mother just took the credit. That being said, once she established her identity as a caring mother with her peers, and my father realized it was a lost cause and finally stopped fighting, and then ended up dying shortly thereafter, the nice gifts stopped. Sure. She would buy cheap knickknacks for Christmas and pretend like they were the best things on earth and force myself and my brother to smile for pictures. But the love bombing stage was done, to say the least. However, she kept up with those pictures. Because she always wanted evidence of us kids being happy. Because she knew our lives sucked. And our lives sucked because we had her as a mother. I'm sorry, but that's the only way to put it. Well, the Turpin family and other families like them, they are no different. All of what you've seen with these pictures of them holding each other at Disneyland and whatnot, they were all planned out by these sick reptiles to send to people, to show them how happy their so-called family really is. You see, real true happy families take pictures so they can fondly look back on a time where they really had fun. They get emotional when they go over such photos. Both the children and the parents. But not these monsters. These monsters take pictures as evidence and proof they are good people, not monsters. And that's how monsters like this have gotten away with what they've gotten away with for so long in our society. For one, how dare you speak against your parents? Especially your mother. And that mess really needs to change. And then on top of that, they do all of these wonderful things for you. And all they see is you smiling holding up a new toy. Or on a vacation somewhere. How dare you speak ill against your parents? Again, this is the narcissist's smoke screen. A smoke screen to hide the evil and hell that is going on in such a home. The other part of this Turpin family story that I and others have talked about with in regards to narcissistic abuse is their perverted nature. And what I believe is, they get excited in an adult way is the best way to say it. From the evil they do to their children. From torturing their children. It somehow lights their fire with each other, so to speak. It's just sick. But this is something I've talked about before with how many of these narcissist couples are. It's been reported that they got involved in many different religions. And then they started to experiment with other adult-type things. Such as the husband having the wife spend time with another man, if you catch my drift. And during all of this, what was the fuel for these sickos? What charged them up? It was the narcissistic supply they got from mentally, emotionally, and physically abusing their children, and getting others to think they were saints. That's the true narcissist. Now I know there have been family members that have come out, and whatnot, that are speaking against this couple, and offering help to the children. And I do hope they are well-adjusted people. But one has to ask, where did this evil come from? Now, do I believe in demons? I sure do. But I also believe they love to inhabit those that have already given themselves up to evil. And usually that's a person that has been abused during their entire life, that went the route of the narcissist and has nothing but a lump of coal for a heart. It's interesting no one comes out and says, there's a high chance something really screwed up happened to both of these so-called people during their formative years. Now, is it possible some of these family members are what we call the forgotten children? I did a video on this topic before, where they are individuals that might have grown up in a screwed up home. But since other children were there taking the brunt of things, they were just left alone. This is not to say in any way these family members that are stepping forward grew up in a narcissistically abusive home, with their nutjob siblings. But what I'm doing is asking the question. And that question is, did these so-called people just one day fall off the rails? Or was this evil cultivated over many years? Years before they met one another? And if so, shouldn't we be asking more questions about such situations? Where did this evil start? Where did it come from? I remember 2 aunts that I had that I felt were fairly normal as compared to my mother. However, I now know they were very dysfunctional people as well. They just hid it better than my mother. I remember times when my mother was in the hospital, and she would have either one of her sisters take care of myself and my golden child brother, on complete different occasions, with both of the sisters that lived in different houses. That being said, they would walk around their home with their robe open just a bit so us children could see things we shouldn't be seeing. And one of these aunts at one time scolded my mother for doing this very thing to us, because one time I complained about it when my aunt was visiting. And even though my mother tried to minimize it, my aunt believed it and scolded her. Now here we have this same aunt doing the same thing. These types cross boundary after boundary, and put their children in positions to where they are seeing things they shouldn't be seeing. It's all a part of their game of brainwashing and manipulation. A way to break you down and destroy the decency within you. And these evil jokers get an adult kick from it. It lights their fire, so to speak. But these are the talks we should be having. Because it's just not a situation of a weird sick couple that went off the rails. It's never that simple. Narcissistic abuse isn't that simple. It's a very complex web, or an onion with many layers. Just when you think you've peeled back all of the layers, there's several more to go. And once this is understood, can true programs be developed to help children that were abused at the hands of these monsters? The children that were chained to their beds were ages 2 to 29. That's some kind of mind control and brainwashing to have a 29-year-old chained to their bed. And I'm pretty sure the abuse went far beyond starving and chaining them to their bed. Far beyond it. And these young children and adults are going to need some serious, and I do mean serious, help. Where do they even begin? And the question is, who out there in the world cares beyond reading the bizarre headlines? Now, I do hope the family of these children that are stepping forward to help are truly sincere. But this stuff needs to be addressed more often. So real help that works can be implemented in treatment for such victims so they can have a good chance at having a successful life. It just kills me to think there are thousands if not millions of families out there just like this. And when the children end up a wreck and doing something really bad, or they kill themselves, parents like these reptiles stand up in front of the world with tears in their eyes, saying how they loved their babies and showing pictures of Disneyland and how much of a good childhood they had, when they really didn't have a childhood at all. I'm curious as to what you think. Are you seeing the same patterns I'm seeing? Let me know. And let's talk about it. With that being said, I hope your day was blessed. And until next time, bye for now. And be good to yourself.